Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself. I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome on in. JJ and Alex, 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone. Good to be in studio. Going to be, we only get to be in studio like once this week, I think. Maybe twice. Either way, we get to enjoy the freezing cold confines. Why is it 66 degrees in here? What are you trying to do? You trying to keep us awake by making our body? You know what? I appreciate it, actually.
Somebody have some soda stored in here or something they're trying to keep cool?
I think my body, the way that we react to the cold is our body has to work overtime. I'm burning calories, trying to keep my core temperature up. So really excited about that.
Being positive.
I know. It's funny when all the hosts have to walk in and out of here in like winter coats. But see, you're going to call a guy and then they're going to turn it up to 79 and go, let's see how these fatties do now.
There you go. I think Lloyd just forgot to pay the heating bill.
It could be that too. Throw a quarter at the services guy downstairs. Hey, we turned the heat up today. It's the holidays. Come on, Bob
It's all
Cratchit.
about who you know.
Let's go. Oh, my goodness. We've got so many things going on. 2024 covering sports is not like it used to be, JJ. I mean, even like 10 years ago, if it came to this time of year and you didn't have a bowl game that your team was necessarily playing in, the BCS stuff, think about how dumb the BCS sounds now. Think about how ridiculously out of date that is. And yet we're basically just doing the same exact thing, leaning on a little bit of computer, a little bit of manpower to try to figure out what our holiday college football viewing pleasures are going to be. And I'm telling you, it hasn't changed that much yet. At the same time, the amount that we are able to talk about and cover now, the transfer portal, the NIL stuff, the commitments from football to basketball, all those things, it just takes up so much now. It's a year-round game, and I love it. I love all the drama, and that's exactly what it's been, is absolute high drama. So we've got lots of drama still to talk about today. If you're a BYU basketball fan, things just got really, really nice because of the news that you got. So let's start things off here first with the biggest news of the day when it comes to recruiting, in-state recruiting, and big names and big money. And don't forget that. Let's jump in here. Our program brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives. The G2G Bar, perfect for anybody who needs that quick, tasty, nutritious boost. You can find it in the refrigerated section or just loose in our studio because it's refrigerated in here. So you come down, we'll get your G2G Bar fixed for you. Let's jump in here and get the cut going, and we'll dive into this crazy AJ Dybantsa news right here. 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And Trajan Wealth brings you this portion of the show. Your trusted local financial fiduciaries in retirement. 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600. Or their website, TrajanWealth.com. That's TRAJAN Wealth.com. All right, let me see here. AJ Dybantsa goes on to First Take, and he gives his reason as to why BYU ends up being the team that he chooses, and this is what it sounded like today for the biggest news in basketball history for BYU. Here's what it sounded like.
A lot stood out on my visit. Obviously, Coach Kevin Young there. My ultimate goal is to get to the NBA. And, he coached one of my favorite players, my favorite player all the time, Kevin Durant. And he had high praise about him. So, I went on my visit. Head coach all the way down to analytics guy all the way to the dietitian is all NBA staff, even the strength coach. So, if it's all NBA, I'm trying to get to the NBA. I think it's going to be the best development program for me. KD, my favorite player. I take a lot from his game, but I don't think I play like him. I think he really one-on-one. I play like a mix of Tracy McGrady and Shea.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm like a Tracy McGrady, SGA kind of hybrid.
Hey, for an 18-year-old to know who Tracy McGrady is,
yeah,
I'm
man.
impressed.
Gosh, he's like, yeah, just think like early 2000s Rockets. I'm kind of in that space. And
at one point, Tracy McGrady was a top 10 player in the league.
Yeah, for sure.
Top 5 scorer.
Oh, for sure. And by the way, he makes this decision, and I don't know how many times BYU's been on people's last, one of the handful of teams still left on the list. And, like, as a cute courtesy, they keep him on there as, like, the third or fourth team. And
Jabari Parker.
Jabari Parker. Yeah. And then go to football. We've seen it a million times, right?
Yeah.
The hat shuffle.
The hat's there, but it stays on the table.
Now, I don't know. You tell me. When you saw this news, we knew that it was going to be pretty close. We knew that the likelihood that he was going to go to BYU actually was pretty darn high.
This is not a shock.
We were like a long time ago in the process. It was like, yeah, right, that's a lot of money. And then it was like, no, they're going to I think they're going to get the money. And then it was like, oh, yeah, but BYU, that's kind of if you're a one and done, maybe it works. And then you start to see all the things that happen and all the things that led to this point. That AJ Dybantsa, the number one recruit in the class of 2025, has now taken BYU's recruiting class up to number 11 in the 2025 recruiting classes across the country because of that ad. What are your thoughts on him going there or coming to BYU and just the Wild West that has become the negotiating of getting guys to come to your basketball, football, or whatever program it is?
Welcome to the new world of college athletics. This is what NIL has done for college basketball specifically. But we've seen it in football, right? But basketball especially, because in football, you need 5 to 7 great offensive linemen. You need to have a quarterback. And we've learned by watching Utah, you need more than one good quarterback because that other guy could get hurt. And you got to have money to give these guys now. You got to have a good receiver. You got to have a good running back. You got to have great defensive players. Okay, before you know it, you've got this huge amount of guys you have to be a great football team and to be able to compete at the highest level. In college basketball, you don't need that many. In fact, if you land the number one player in the country, you can be pretty darn good. Now, that's not the only thing. Like, if you watch college basketball, the best teams, like this UConn dynasty, was not just built by a bunch of one-and-dones. Okay, and I'll get to a cautionary thing about this in a moment, but I want to celebrate this for BYU because this is a big, big deal. In the past, where did all the big-name players go? Kentucky,
North Carolina.
Duke, okay.
Every once in a while,
Arizona would get some.
Sure.
Do you know how Arizona got a lot of those guys?
The bag.
Exactly.
Woo.
So it's funny, now that it's all out in the open, in an institution like BYU, who never would have done it that way in the past, is now like, okay, well, we can have a collective. We can have some of our big donors help us with bringing in somebody like this. And you know what? They're all in on it. And I applaud them for that because this is massive for BYU basketball. This is massive for Brigham Young University. This is massive for the state of Utah. This is big, big news. Now, does this guarantee wins? No. But what it does show is you're bringing in the number one player in the country. It shows that you're no longer that middle of the road, mid-program. You can compete with the big boys, and NIL is allowing you to do that. If you're a school and you have the alumni base, and to be specific, a few donors who can foot this bill, and they're all invested and they're all in, you can do amazing things. And is one guy going to change BYU basketball forever? I doubt that, but one guy leads to another guy, leads to another guy, leads to another guy. You think Duke was built in one day? When did Duke become a powerhouse?
Oh, late 80s? I mean...
It really took off in the 90s.
Yeah.
When you got Christian Laettner in there. You remember those teams that knocked...
Right.
The team... Remember how big of an upset it was that Duke beat UNLV? For the national championship, if you remember that.
That was 1990, right?
And that was the start. Christian Laettner, Grant Hill, that whole group.
Yeah.
Before that, Duke was the team that couldn't get it done. Remind you of a team? BYU. Okay, what did Duke have to do to elevate everything? Well, they had to get some special players in. And then once those special players came in, other players wanted to follow. BYU this year has a special player, or 2 or 3 or 4. I would say Jaeger Demon is a very special player who, if he wants to, will be in next year's lottery in the NBA draft. Cannon Catchings is a special player. I think Cannon Catchings is one of the most talented players BYU's ever had. And you have Dallin Hall,
Right.
who was
Who
Mr.
decided to-
Basketball here in Utah.
And who decided to stay. Like, that was a big deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a really impressive group of players, and they're not playing their best right now. I think by the end of the season they will be. But now you're opening this situation up to, this is how tradition is built. You got to get these great players in all the time. And BYU now has the means of attracting the best of the best. And this is a statement to the entire college basketball world that BYU is taking this serious and BYU wants to win big. Now, whether they do or not, time will tell.
Yeah.
But they are all in on getting the number one player in the country. And this is going to rock the world of places like Kansas and Duke and Kentucky because they no longer have a stranglehold on these situations. If a school out there wants to be big and they're willing to invest, they can do it with NIL. That's why this is significant. This will change college basketball forever because the Blue Bloods no longer have a stranglehold on the number one player in the country. And they can't take it for granted. A team like BYU, a program like BYU with the support they're having, can go get that guy if they do everything correctly.
Let me ask you, though, from a performance standpoint, how much more of a deal is it? Because you know what BYU football's had before? The 5-star recruit, the number one quarterback, the number one. You know, you think of your, you think of your Ben Olsen's, or is it? Who's the Olsen?
He was
Ben Olsen.
Yeah, he was an Elite 11, big time. Yeah, that was a big time
5-star, probably him, and obviously you think of Jake Heaps in terms of like, oh, he's the number one pro-style quarterback in the country coming out of Sammamish, Washington, and those guys did not work out as being the best player in the country. You know what I mean? Like, so my question to you is, how much of a slam dunk is this from? Because we know that we've watched Cooper Flagg, right? And you know what he's going to deliver because you've watched it. It's an easier thing to be able to convert. What do we know about AJ Dybantsa when it comes to this guy as hey, here's what you're going to get from him? What's the likelihood of him in year one? He's going to be that one and done guy. So what's the likelihood that actually brings BYU to the other two times they've had the best player in the country? Jimmer Fredette, Danny Ainge. You made trips to the Sweet 16. And I think in Danny Ainge's case, they go to the Elite 11 or the Elite 8. So does that? It's not automatic, but at the same time, what are the odds that a guy like AJ Dybantsa gets you not just into the tournament, but wins you a couple of games just by virtue of having that guy on your roster?
History tells us not good.
That's not what I want to
hear. How many national
AJ?
titles did Kevin Durant win at Texas?
Yeah, none for sure. Yeah,
one and done. See ya. How many national titles did Chet Holmgren win at Gonzaga?
Yeah, they still went deep though. But they went deep. They go deep every year.
And then one and done, right?
Right.
Like, what is the long-term impact of that player? It's the impact is greater than the amount of NCAA tournament wins, because what have we seen with a lot of the NCAA tournament teams of late? UConn was built on a lot of seniors. It was like that doesn't happen overnight. That's experienced players. The most experienced, most talented fielded players wins. Experience matters in the NCAA tournament. How many championships did John Calipari's Kentucky teams win?
Oh, not many, but I'll tell you what they did do. Put a lot of guys in the league after 1 year. And you know what?
Which would you rather have?
But
would you rather be a lottery factory?
Yeah, but the fan base did get they were over it, man. Like that's why Calipari got run out of town, because it was like, hey, we appreciate your top 5 recruiting classes every year. We didn't like the fact that all these kids were basically not even going to school, not bringing a title they didn't play with any kind of fluidity. They didn't play with any kind of the teams were all over the place.
This is the reality of the situation. I'm being realistic here, and I'm analyzing this as much as I can. BYU fans should be over the moon excited about this. Kevin Young has already done more in recruiting, and this is no offense to anybody else that's ever coached there. They've had great coaching. He's had the ability to go out with NIL and make a difference, combined with his expertise as an NBA guy and the staff he brought with him. You heard AJ Dybantsa say why he's going to BYU. Was money the number one factor? Possibly.
Probably.
Was it the only factor? No. No other staff in the country could give him what he wanted.
Right.
More than BYU. All the way down to the dietitian. They're all NBA people. You want to go to the NBA? That's what BYU has now. Again, the investment to be great. Now, it may not hit with AJ Dybantsa, but it may hit in the future when you have more guys that come along with him that want to be a part of the program that aren't the one and dones. This is going to up the level of talent. And that's what happens with a lot of these schools. That's what happened at Duke. That's what happened at Kentucky. That's what happens with Kansas, is these schools have been able to up and raise the level that they can. So Calipari won one NCAA championship in 2012 with Anthony Davis. Am I reading that correct?
That sounds wild to me.
Isn't that nuts?
At least like 3, right?
So he went to an
we
elite.
all know they didn't win them all, but
year 1, Elite 8. Okay, year 2, Final Four. 3, third-year champion. Next year, NIT. First round, they lost the first round of the NIT. Next year, runner-up. Then a Final Four. Then a second round, Elite 8, Sweet 16, Elite 8. First round, second round, first round. Okay, he was going to the tournament with all this talent.
oh yeah,
I mean, he had more. He didn't have just one AJ Dybantsa. He had multiple guys.
He had all of the AJ
time.
Dybantsas, yeah.
He got every guy, and that's why they produced tons of NBA talent. And what that did for the program was amazing. And they went to the NCAA tournament every single year. National championships, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Even that situation, that's why I want to give caution here. Like, just because you land the number 1 player in the country doesn't guarantee you anything.
Yeah, but hold up.
But what this will do for the program's perception, immeasurable. You can't put a price on that.
Are BYU fans really thinking that a national championship's on the table? Like, honestly,
Yes,
but
they
should
are.
they be? My question is,
No,
like,
that's why I'm trying to be
what's-
cautious about
what's
that.
a reality expectation then for a BYU team over the next couple of years? Because it's taking gotten a little bit of a slow start with this team. It was supposed to be obviously very, very good. Still,
Get to the tournament.
Okay.
This year is not a given.
No,
They got things to work out.
Sure.
And that's okay.
Yeah,
There's a lot of newness there.
Yeah, and you haven't started Big 12 play.
Two of the best players are freshmen. I don't care if he's a lottery pick.
Right. You get to December 31st, and you're taking out Arizona State, and that's your first. I mean, we're still you're still quite a bit away from your conference schedule, which is where BYU really kind of turned that corner, right, last year.
This team needs to be better in February and March under Kevin Young. If not, then there's something wrong there.
Okay.
We'll get to that when the time comes in March and April. We'll evaluate what this team was.
Oh, maybe they struggle.
And how year 1 went.
Maybe they struggle a little bit, and then Diego Demon says, "I'm going to stay here for another second year because I want to play with this AJ Dybantsa guy." Get all that.
So yeah, that's
see, now that might be as much of a big deal.
That's
as
how a champion would be built. You need experience, but that's not what's happening here. These guys are going to be one and done going to the NBA. But BYU needs that right now. BYU needs to get to that next level of the Kentuckys and the Dukes and the Kansas. They need multiple guys like this. And the only way to do that is to start with one. And they got one. Now you try to do it again the next year, and the next year, and the next year. And maybe one of those guys you get is going to stick around for more than 1 year. You don't know.
Yeah.
But at least you're stepping into that pathway that's going to lead you to becoming a basketball blue blood, which is the goal of everybody involved in this situation. They want BYU basketball to be mentioned among Kentucky and Kansas and North Carolina and Duke and Arizona and UConn. This is how you get there. It's a process. But, man, what a start to that. This year you've got Yeager Demon, Cannon Catchings, and the next you're going to have AJ Dybantsa.
Okay.
BYU's on their way.
But look, you could say too, like, come on, this doesn't guarantee anything. Come on,
It doesn't.
Having a bunch of talent doesn't it? But when you just named off all the things that Kentucky had, and you start talking about Calipari and all the things that he brought to that program, and his shortcomings, only winning one national championship and all the time. But you did just rattle off like Elite 8, Sweet 16, Final Four, Elite 8.
That's how you build a program.
Like
that's how you build a program.
Like if that's
even to this day, kids want to go to Kentucky.
Think about where Gonzaga is. Okay, this is a middle of nowhere program, and I tell you, look, I know Spokane very well, and it is like to have the success that they're having, basically in the middle of nowhere, right? At the level that Mark Few has had that success at Gonzaga, it takes something special because, by the way, Gonzaga getting number one recruits, like they're like, great, we do this all the time. You know what we do? We build teams, and we have guys who go to the NBA immediately. We have all these guys, and they go every freaking year to the NCAA tournament. Not just go to the tournament, they go to the Elite Eight all the time.
Because it's not about the Chet Holmgren that they landed. It's about the other guys that are around him.
That are all around him.
That are the seniors and the juniors. And BYU eventually will get there where if they're able to get these top players, you add them to a mix of guys that are the veteran leaders.
Right.
And then you've got something. That takes time to build.
Convincing kids to go to Spokane is honestly, the thing
it's
that
not
gets
hard anymore because they know that that's a pathway to the league. They know it's a pathway to winning, and they know they're going to get tons of support. They're going to get big crowds.
Where is Gonzaga?
Gonzaga is cool. It's cool to go to Gonzaga.
Where is Gonzaga in top programs in this country over the past 20 years? Top 5 easily.
Agreed.
And it has no business being a program that is basically basketball only, right? UConn, you can say the same thing, right? What's crazy about UConn is you even change coaches and you still get good. You think about what Jim Calhoun did with that program, and then you're able to sign up Hurley for another, how many years?
Kevin Ollie won a national championship.
Right. So listen, it's transferable when you have the brand.
Yep.
And you're able to keep that thing going. Because when Kevin Young isn't around at BYU anymore, it's the next guy. It's the next guy after that because the brand is there. The facilities have been there, by the way. For anybody who knows about it, too. Those facilities are as good as any of them in the country. And so that's a big deal when these kids come in.
Real quick, before we wrap on this topic, that's the difference. Can you sustain this? Can you use the bump from getting a number one recruit to sustain it? Because let me read off more examples that could not. Andy Enfield, Southern California, got Isaiah Collier, who's now with Utah Jazz. Isaiah Collier was the number one guy. How'd that go? Not good. He doesn't work there anymore.
What?
Mike Boynton at Oklahoma State got the number one prospect in the country, Cade Cunningham. They went to the NCAA second round. Mike Boynton doesn't work there anymore. I can keep going. Tom Crean at Georgia. Tom Crean. Marquette had Dwayne Wade. Couldn't win at Georgia. Got Anthony Edwards to come to Georgia.
Are you trying to depress BYU fans on purpose
16
here?
and 16 with Anthony Edwards. Lost his job.
You're trying to just bring up AJ Dybantsa as a cautionary tale? That's what you're doing now?
Johnny Jones. Have you ever heard of Johnny Jones? Do you know who Johnny Jones is?
No.
He signed Ben Simmons at LSU. Ben Simmons was supposed to be the big thing. They went 19 and 14. They didn't go to the NCAA tournament. Jones lost his job. You have no idea who Johnny Jones is. You don't know who he is.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, Anthony Bennett. Dave Rice. We know Dave Rice at BYU. When he was at UNLV, he signed Anthony Bennett. They made it to the NCAA first round, but Dave Rice isn't there anymore, is he? Look, I think this is going to turn out differently, I believe, because BYU is building that structure and support to be able to make this a long-term lasting thing, and this is a big deal. But approach this with the understanding that there's a process here, and it's hard to win. But, man, is this a big win for BYU when it comes to perception of program. This is going to help them build towards what their goal is to become one of those blue bloods. But it's got to be sustained over time. I've just gave you many examples where it didn't work out.
Okay. I'm not sure if I'm more depressed now then, just because of
why do you have to? AJ Dybantsa.
Well, why do you have to bring all these facts to the table? Why don't you just let me have?
Should I have saved those for another day?
Hey, let BYU fans have today.
I am. This is amazing.
And by the way, you brought up like a guy like Cade Cunningham, who was he the number one overall pick too?
Yeah,
and he phenomenal. And Detroit.
How'd that go for Oklahoma State?
Hey, Detroit.
Again, BYU, I believe, is different. This is there. The support is there. This is different. But remember that. It's going to take time. Don't get What I really want BYU fans to do is don't be disappointed if this doesn't go perfectly. It's part of a process, and AJ's legacy there will go well beyond the time he was there for that short period of time. He's only going to be there for a year.
Fine. Okay. We'll come right back. More to go. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing.
When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex. Presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us today on it's actually a shockingly nice Tuesday today.
A little chilly, but it's fun.
Yeah, but it's also in the 40s. So
fun in the sun.
You get to the 10th of December and it's in the 40s. It's nice.
Right. We have not hit below zero yet this year.
It's good.
So.
It's good. All right. So we were just chatting about BYU and the whole, AJ Dybantsa stuff, and obviously there's going to be a lot to break down over the next few months. BYU basketball. Once Big 12 play starts up with Utah and BYU, and Utah State's already humming right now. Of course, Coach Calhoun comes in and just immediately starts having success, right? Like up at Utah State. That's what you do. You
Death taxes in Utah State being good at basketball.
Right, with a coach who's been here 10
Doesn't
minutes.
matter.
So let's go.
And that's what we're talking about with – it's a different example, but in their way, Utah State has developed this continuity where they've established a brand and then an expectation, and the players that can carry on in that program keep that up. That standard stays that way because of the players in the program. You can switch coaches, but the players continue that standard of excellence.
I don't know if it's too crazy to consider that, what BYU is doing, if it's so historic and groundbreaking for BYU, who's been able to get very good talent, but typically it's like, but it's that talented LDS player, right? And we've seen the same thing with football, which has turned that corner of that not being the prerequisite anymore. The prerequisite now is show me the money a little bit. Or,
yeah.
I mean, I know
that's the reality of it.
I know it sounds weird, and I know it sounds.
But BYU's willing to do it, which we weren't sure they were.
Not only willing to do it, they're actually like kind of out dueling the big names. I mean, this is the example, right? So they're showing up with 7 figures to woo these guys, allegedly, right? Do we say allegedly? I mean, it's not a murder case here.
No crime has been committed here. This is all legal, which is why BYU's open to it now, because it wasn't out in the open before. Trust me, plenty of guys got bags back in the day.
Well, okay, so let me bring this up, and we're going to talk about it. I'm going to flop the subjects here that we had, because the collective made a statement immediately after this. It was like, okay, the BYU, the Royal Blue Collective is making a statement on this thing. And I thought they were going to be like, hey, listen, I know there's speculation out there about the numbers and blah, blah, blah. I made an assumption in my head that immediately the Royal Blue Collective was going to be like, listen, we don't want to play this game of just having this be a money game, all right? We love that AJ Dybantsa is coming, and that's great, but BYU brings in solid young men to the program. They want to build those young men, and he's as important of all the other athletes. And so if you're wondering about the money aspect of it, don't get too worried about that. Instead, I mean, that's what in my head they were going to try to like walk back like the image of throwing a bunch of money at this kid. Instead, you know what they did with their statement? They freaking owned it.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, congrats to you, BYU Nation. You know why? You know why you're able to get AJ Dybantsa? There's a couple of things, but we do not want to short the commitment here that 1,000 donors have thrown in to be able to make this possible. The only reason that being able to get big time names out of the transfer portal, whatever it might be, out of high school, and coming to a program and being a part of this and having the best recruit in the entire country be a part of your program is because we've embraced the money part of it. And guess what? If you want nice things, you're going to have to keep it coming. And you're going to have to keep it rolling. It's not just a, hey, one and done for you giving. If you want to see this kind of stuff happen more, they pounced on it. And they said, hey, you want to have these things happen more and more? Keep throwing money at the collective and we'll keep making stuff like this happen. It was a brilliant move.
I think another question some people have is it worth it? Is AJ Dybantsa worth it? Let me say, even though he has not played a game for BYU, definitively, yes. This is absolutely worth it, because if you're BYU, and the point I was making in the last segment was you want to be considered among the best in the country, you want to win national championships, you gotta start somewhere with raising the level, raising the bar, and getting the number one recruit in the country over all these other teams that were after him is allowing you to raise the bar. How good is AJ Dybantsa? That's a great question. How good is he? Not only is he the number one overall prospect in the 2026 class, credit here, Brandon Judd of the Deseret News compiled this list. He went back and looked back at the only players that have ever received a perfect composite ranking as a basketball recruit from 24/7 Sports. They started doing that in 2003 when, of course, LeBron James was the number one player in the country. Only 8 players have ever done this. Let me run off those players for you. Cooper Flagg.
He's okay.
Chet Holmgren.
What's interesting is you brought up Cooper Flagg, because that's a guy that I think we've all watched now, and you don't need to be convinced that he's going to be a generational.
When all of you
right?
watch AJ Dybantsa playing at the college level, you're going to get it.
Okay,
too.
I hope so.
Okay, that doesn't mean he's perfect. I mean, Cooper Flagg right now is Duke's not perfect. They have some losses this year. They've had some ups and downs.
Yeah, but as an individual,
Cooper Flagg's a 17-year-old freshman He doesn't look like one, but he
you
is.
can see what he does on the floor. And there's a reason there's an energy about him.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, keep going.
Chet Holmgren.
Got it.
Unfortunately, he's having some injury issues, but when he plays for the Thunder, my goodness.
Yep.
And he was good at Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Did he win them a national championship? Obviously not.
Got him
but
close.
RJ Barrett at Duke, he was great. In the NBA, it's been a little bit of a mixed bag, right? Andrew Wiggins. Of course, he went to Kansas for a year.
But Andrew Wiggins has been a very, very good NBA player. Like
He was the NBA Rookie of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
It's fair to say he's panned out. He's an NBA champion.
Yes.
Has he been that generational NBA talent? No, but when you remember when Andrew Wiggins came in, remember Andrew Wiggins and Jabari Parker, same class, same everything.
That's crazy.
Those are the two of the most hyped guys that I remember back in the last decade and a half. Andrew Wiggins is one of those perfect ratings. Greg Oden, yes, cautionary tale.
Boy.
This is where that not everybody makes it.
My knee hurts just saying the name, Greg Oden.
But did you remember Greg Oden at Ohio State when he was healthy?
Oh, yeah.
He was good. He was
Ohio,
really good.
Ohio State was never, in my mind, it was never that team that got guys like that. They didn't feel like a basketball school in a lot of cases for me growing up. So when Greg Oden came there and started, Ohio State was, a top 5 team. They were ridiculous.
They made it to the national championship game.
Yes. Okay.
So that was impact for Ohio State, and when he was healthy, he was really good. Dwight Howard, straight to the pros from high school. Dwight Howard's going to be in the Hall of Fame. His career didn't end the way it started, which is unfortunate, but he's still a Hall of Famer.
Sure.
Okay? And then, of course, LeBron James. That's it. That is the class of player that AJ Dybantsa is in. That's how good this kid is.
That's crazy.
This is special.
It's crazy.
For BYU. It's insane that they have this chance. And if there was that one and done thing didn't exist and you could go straight to the NBA from high school, Dybantsa and Cooper Flagg would be going straight to the NBA. That's how good they are. That's how good this kid is.
The collective said this, and this is what we'll round it out with before we get out to the break. As the official NIL collective of BYU Athletics, just a reminder, we are glad to play a role in AJ's NIL deal while he's with the program. The collective efforts are indeed collective. We're thankful for the 875 donors from more than 30 different states who provide support to more than 300 BYU student athletes across 13 teams. The collective has received major gifts from 32 alumni. What does major gifts mean? It's a major award.
It's a lot of money.
Like $55 or more? Just the regular level. What does that mean, though? Is that $1 million or more?
I imagine.
Yeah. Okay. Grateful for the unprecedented ecosystem of BYU. The entrepreneurial DNA of Cougar Nation is unrivaled. The Royal Blue Collective is committed to aligning with the goals, objectives, and missions of BYU University. Don't forget that, okay? They have goals and missions, but man, they want to win.
Yeah.
We can't wait for that ahead for what's ahead this season and beyond. The world is our campus. Go Cougs. There you go. So don't forget, if you're wondering about it, you can donate to the collective even today. Because now the coffers just got emptied. All right, we're going to need some extra boost. We need some more seed money.
Who's the number one recruit in the 2027 class? We got work to do.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, we'll take
Donors
a
assemble!
They're all, by the way, we have now $17 in our account. We just checked it this morning.
You mean the BYU Collective's living paycheck to paycheck?
They are after that. Oh, my goodness.
What are we doing?
Come on. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We have more to go around the corner. Stick around. We've got a would you rather or two to consider. So stay here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody. Real life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, everybody. Welcome back. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Number one overall basketball recruit, or would you rather have the number one overall football recruit?
Ooh, this is a hard one. I would say basketball because it has greater impact to get the better basketball player.
The number one basketball.
You can win big in college football without the 5-star guys.
And the number one basketball recruit is more of a, I don't know, the word guarantee is never good, but you tell me. The number one basketball recruit is, I hate myself for saying it, more of a slam dunk. right?
The NBA. It's fantastic.
But that's right. I mean, because you get 5-star guys.
Where's our son?
I know. You get 5 guys in football. You get 5-star guys in football, and it feels like, oh,
you got a chance.
He's the number 2 tight end in the country.
It's just fact.
Yeah, but a lot of times it doesn't pan out that way. Basketball feels like it's more of a done deal. Like if a guy's the number 1 overall recruit in basketball, it feels more important than it is in football.
An individual player has more impact on the basketball court than they do on a football field. You could argue that the most important player on the football field is your left tackle, right? We could have a serious conversation about that. It's obviously the quarterback, but who's number 2? Probably the left tackle.
Yeah.
Then on defense, it's a different story. So look, LeBron James, Dwight Howard, Greg Oden, although it didn't work out because
I
his
love
broken
the Greg
foot.
Oden. Yeah.
If he didn't break his foot, he would have been great. Andrew Wiggins, R.J. Barrett, Chet Holmgren, Cooper Flagg. Those are the elite of the elite, and they usually always work out. How many 5-star, big-time quarterbacks or whatever in college football fizzle out and aren't any good in college?
Well, just at BYU, too. in the times that they've had.
You're right.
I don't know how many
times
5-star quarterbacks they've gotten, but the one who
I don't have a list in front of me, but how many overhyped BYU players have we seen over the years?
How many stars did Jim McMahon have coming out of Roy High School? How many stars did Steve Young have coming out of Connecticut?
Alex Smith's going into the College Football Hall of Fame. How many stars did he have?
2?
I don't even think he had any.
Crazy.
Utah was his only offer.
Yeah. You talk about Josh Allen. I mean, that story is well
he had
known.
to go shop himself.
Yeah.
He's the MVP of the NFL. Tom Brady was a 6th-round draft pick.
Hey, Coach, did you get my tape that I sent?
There's no
I did not.
6th-round draft picks that have become all-stars in the NBA.
Yeah.
It's different.
Hey, take the stress out of Christmas shopping and get the best blanket and best gifts ever. Minky Couture. Just go to their website, minkycouture.com. Get 50% off by using the promo code ZONE50 at checkout. Or visit any of the 6 Minky Couture locations. Best blanket, best gift ever. There you go. All right. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We got more to go, so don't miss any of the program. I've got some tickets to give away for a Jazz Ticket Tuesday. You want to do that right now? Alex, I don't know. He says, yeah, let's do it. We got a pair of tickets for the Jazz and the Suns at the Delta Center Friday, December 13th. That's in 3 days here. All right, so if you're listening, you can win a pair of tickets right now. Early Christmas present for somebody. Call in number 12, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE, 801-575-9663. You get yourself a pair of tickets to the Jazz and the Suns at Delta Center on Friday. We'll come right back. We've got more right around the corner at 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.